Sheikh Khalid and his wife Laila lived a life of unimaginable luxury in Dubai. But when they enlisted their Filipina maid Maria to carry a secret pregnancy for $100,000, nothing could prepare them for the deadly chain of betrayal, obsession, and disappearance that followed. In the golden heart of Dubai, where skyscrapers sparkled like jewels under the desert sun, Sheikh Khalid Al Mansoor and his wife Laila were known as the city's most admired couple. Their lavish mansion stood among the quiet, palm-lined streets of Emirates Hills, guarded by tall gates and luxury cars that gleamed even at night. To outsiders, their life seemed flawless: endless parties, designer outfits, and a love story envied by many. Yet beneath the glittering perfection, a silent pain shadowed Layla's every smile. For years, she had tried to give her husband the one thing he wanted most: an heir to carry the family name. Countless visits to fertility clinics, expensive doctors flown in from Europe, and private prayers in the early hours of dawn brought her nothing but disappointment. Each failed attempt chipped away at her confidence. Layla began to withdraw from social gatherings, avoiding the curious eyes of women who once praised her beauty but now pitted her quiet sadness. The Sheikh, though outwardly supportive, had started to distance himself emotionally. Whispers began to circulate among the elite, murmurs that the Sheikh might take another wife, one who could give him a son. Every rumor burned through Layla like fire. She spent long nights alone, wandering through her mansion's marble halls, staring at the empty nursery she had decorated years earlier in soft shades of gold and white. To the world, she was still the image of luxury and grace. But behind the palace gates, Layla's life was crumbling. The woman who once had everything was now haunted by the one thing she could never have. And in her growing desperation, a dangerous idea began to take root, an idea that would change her life forever. Maria Dela Cruz arrived in Dubai with a single suitcase and a heart full of hope. At 26, she had left behind her small hometown in the Philippines, where her aging parents and two younger siblings depended on her. Life had been hard: long hours in factories, little pay, and no future in sight. When she was offered a position as a maid in one of Dubai's wealthiest households, it felt like a blessing. The papers were signed quickly, and soon she was standing before the towering gates of Sheikh Khalid Al Mansoor's mansion, awed by its grandeur. The marble floors, chandeliers, and manicured gardens were unlike anything she had ever seen. Everything gleamed with perfection, but Maria's focus was on her work. She cleaned quietly, cooked with care, and followed every rule. Her humility and sincerity soon caught the attention of Laila Al Mansoor. Unlike other maids who came and went, Maria carried herself with a quiet dignity that intrigued her employer. Laila began to trust her, first with simple tasks, then with personal errands. As weeks passed, Maria became more than a worker. She became a comforting presence in a house filled with tension. Laila found herself drawn to her kindness and simplicity. She often watched Maria from a distance, admiring her youthful energy and natural warmth, something she herself had lost long ago. The Sheikh barely noticed the new maid, but to Laila, Maria's arrival felt almost fated. For the first time in months, Laila felt a strange sense of hope stirring within her. She couldn't explain it, but something about Maria seemed to hold an answer, a quiet promise that the emptiness in her life might finally be filled, even if it came at a heavy price. The silence in the mansion had grown unbearable for Laila. Every morning she woke up to the sound of luxury, the gentle hum of fountains, the quiet footsteps of servants, yet none of it filled the hollow ache inside her. The doctors had given up. The fertility treatments had drained her body and her spirit. One evening, while sitting alone in the garden, watching Maria hang laundry under the fading sunset, a desperate thought began to form. The young maid's gentle face, her kindness, her health, everything about her seemed perfect. In that moment, Layla's sorrow twisted into resolve. She spent days researching in secret, reaching out to private medical contacts abroad, asking about surrogacy options that could remain confidential. But the Sheikh would never agree to something that could attract gossip or legal complications. This had to be done quietly, away from the public eye and his knowledge. When Layla finally approached Maria, her voice trembled, but her mind was firm. She promised her maid something life-changing: $100,000 in exchange for carrying her baby. For Maria, the offer was overwhelming. The money could change her family's fate forever. Yet the thought of pregnancy under such strange circumstances terrified her. Still, she saw the sincerity in Layla's eyes, a mixture of pain and pleading that no heart could ignore. After nights of silent prayer, Maria agreed. Layla felt a spark of life return to her. At last, there was hope. Hope that she could have the child she longed for without facing humiliation or another failed treatment. What neither woman knew was that this secret agreement, born from pain and desperation, would soon spiral into a nightmare far beyond anything they could imagine. The arrangement began quietly, hidden behind layers of secrecy and wealth. Within days, Layla arranged everything. A private consultation with a so-called fertility specialist recommended by an acquaintance who specialized in discreet matters. The clinic was located in a quiet villa outside the city, far from the gleaming towers of Dubai. Maria was taken there one evening in a tinted car, escorted by Layla's trusted driver. The place didn't look like a typical medical center. No signs, no waiting area, only a single dimly lit room that smelled faintly of antiseptic. The doctor barely spoke, and all the paperwork was handled by Layla herself. The procedure went ahead swiftly, and within a few weeks, Maria learned she was pregnant. Layla was overjoyed, her once cold demeanor replaced by an almost obsessive attentiveness. She insisted Maria stay inside the mansion, away from the outside world. Her phone was taken for privacy reasons, and even her contact with other staff members was limited. Every week, a nurse visited to check on her condition, carrying no official badge or hospital identification. Maria tried to trust Layla, but unease began to grow in her heart. She noticed locked drawers filled with medications and sealed envelopes. Sometimes, she caught the nurse whispering with Layla in hushed tones before leaving hurriedly. Each time Maria asked questions, she was reassured that everything was under control. As months passed, Maria felt her freedom slipping away. The grand mansion that once felt safe now resembled a gilded cage. The guards at the gates were instructed not to let her leave without permission. What had started as a promise of hope was becoming something darker, a silent arrangement bound not by compassion, but by control and fear. By the 6th month of pregnancy, the atmosphere inside the mansion had turned heavy and strange. Layla, once gentle and composed, became unpredictable. Her mood changed without warning. Moments of affection toward Maria quickly turned into bursts of anger or paranoia. She no longer allowed any of the household staff to interact with the pregnant maid. Meals were brought directly to Maria's room, which was now locked from the outside during the night. The cheerful home had transformed into a place of whispers and fear. Layla's obsession grew stronger each day. She spoke to the baby as if it were already hers, ordering new clothes, a gold cradle, and a nursery filled with designer baby items. She even arranged photo albums labeled Our Miracle, placing her own picture beside ultrasound images of the child. Maria's name was never mentioned. Every trace of her identity was slowly being erased, as though she were just a vessel, invisible and temporary. The staff started noticing changes in Layla too. Her eyes looked tired and restless, and she spent hours alone in the nursery, staring at the empty crib. Rumors began to spread that she feared the Sheikh would find out about the secret pregnancy. She believed that if he discovered the truth, he might reject her and take the child for himself. Maria's anxiety deepened. Her body ached, her heart raced, and she felt watched every hour of the day. The guards, once friendly, now treated her coldly, following silent orders. One night, as she sat by the window, staring at the glowing Dubai skyline, Maria realized she was no longer just a maid. She was a prisoner in a mansion filled with secrets that could destroy them all. One afternoon, Sheikh Khalid decided to review the mansion's security footage, a habit he rarely indulged in. What he saw unsettled him immediately. In several clips, Maria was being escorted to a hidden section of the mansion he had never noticed. The doors were locked, and the area appeared more like a private suite than any part of the household. Suspicion gnawed at him. He had trusted Layla completely, yet the images suggested she was hiding something significant. The Sheikh confronted Layla, asking her calmly but firmly about the footage. She smiled nervously, claiming it was part of routine medical care for Maria. But her response did little to convince him. Sheikh Khalid's mind raced. He had always been protective of his family, and the thought that his wife might be acting in secrecy alarmed him. He began quietly investigating, reaching out to contacts who could verify the credentials of the so-called clinic where Maria had undergone her procedure. The results shocked him. The clinic didn't exist. The doctor's credentials were fabricated, and there were no records of Maria's pregnancy outside the mansion. Furious, Sheikh Khalid demanded a full explanation from Laila, but when he returned home the next morning, she was gone. Her phone was left behind, along with a bloodstained shawl lying on the floor near the bedroom. The guards claimed they had seen nothing. Panic spread through the household. Maria, 7 months pregnant, was left alone under tight supervision, yet no one knew where Laila had gone or why she had vanished so suddenly. The Sheikh's world, once orderly and secure, had collapsed in an instant. Secrets that had been carefully buried were beginning to surface, and the house that once gleamed with luxury now felt like a trap, every shadow hiding a truth more dangerous than anyone could imagine. By the time Maria reached 7 months, the mansion had transformed into a tense and silent fortress. Laila's sudden disappearance left a void filled with fear and uncertainty. The guards claimed that Maria was being taken to a private hospital for her safety, but no one could provide concrete details. Her passport and personal belongings were later discovered near a marina, raising chilling questions about whether she had left voluntarily or had been forced. The Sheikh, enraged and desperate, launched a private investigation, determined to uncover the truth. Investigators scoured the mansion for clues. Laila's personal journals, scattered across hidden drawers, hinted at her growing obsession with secrecy and control, but provided no clear explanation for her sudden flight. The Sheikh's concern turned to panic as he realized that not only his wife, but also the unborn child could be in danger. Every corner of the mansion, every servant's testimony, was scrutinized, yet no one could piece together a full account of Laila's actions before she vanished. As news of the missing maid spread, Dubai police became involved. They questioned staff, examined financial transactions, and checked security footage from neighboring properties, but Maria had seemingly disappeared without a trace. Her weekly medical checkups were never officially recorded, and the so-called nurse had vanished along with Laila. The world outside the mansion began to buzz with speculation. Had Maria been harmed? Was Laila attempting to flee with the baby? Each day that passed intensified the fear. The Sheikh faced mounting pressure, both personally and publicly, to resolve the mystery. Yet, despite his resources and influence, the situation remained baffling. The young maid who had arrived with hope and innocence now existed only as a haunting absence, her fate intertwined with secrets that no one dared confront directly. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth and power, had become a labyrinth of UNC. Weeks of relentless investigation led authorities to a small, remote villa on the outskirts of Dubai. The property had been purchased under a false identity, its location carefully hidden from public records. When investigators arrived, the place appeared abandoned at first glance, but the closer they looked, the more disturbing details emerged. Inside, the air was thick and still, carrying the faint smell of antiseptic and decay. Bloodstains marked the floors and walls, smeared in ways that suggested struggle. Scattered syringes, empty vials, and baby clothes embroidered with the name Emir hinted at a plan gone horribly wrong. Among the chaos, investigators discovered a partially destroyed journal belonging to Laila. Its pages were soaked and smeared, but enough words remained to reveal a disturbing narrative. Laila had meticulously documented her plans to take the baby and escape, detailing her fear that the Sheikh would interfere if he discovered Maria's pregnancy. She had prepared for secrecy, arranging medical procedures and funds under false names, and even described hiding Maria in the villa temporarily. Yet the last pages ended abruptly, hinting at a complication during the final stages of the pregnancy. Forensic analysis confirmed that the blood belonged to Maria. The villa, once meant to be a sanctuary, had become the scene of tragedy. Every detail suggested desperation. A woman willing to risk everything to possess the child she could not have, and a maid caught in circumstances far beyond her control. The discovery shook the Sheikh and authorities alike. The journal revealed a calculated plan, but its abrupt ending left the most haunting question unanswered. What had actually happened to the unborn child? While the villa provided some answers, it raised even deeper mysteries. hinting that Layla's actions had spiraled out of control, leaving a trail of fear, loss, and unanswered questions that would haunt everyone involved. Weeks later, a construction crew working on a desert site just outside Dubai made a grim discovery. Beneath the shifting sands, they unearthed a shallow grave. Forensic teams were immediately called, and DNA testing confirmed the unthinkable. It was Maria. Her body showed signs of complications during childbirth, and the autopsy revealed a cesarean scar, evidence that the birth had been performed under unsafe, unmonitored conditions. There was no trace of the child she had carried for 7 months, intensifying the mystery surrounding the case. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Sheikh's household. The man who had once lived in certainty and control now faced the unimaginable: his wife's disappearance, the death of a young maid, and the disappearance of his potential heir. The investigation deepened, uncovering layers of secrecy, manipulation, and delusion. Layla had meticulously planned to take the baby and disappear, but something had gone horribly wrong. The villa, the hidden medical procedures, and the journals all pointed to a calculated effort, yet the outcome was far from what she had intended. The media erupted with speculation. Some reports suggested Layla had fled abroad with the child. Others hinted at a tragic accident during childbirth in the hidden villa. Rumors circulated endlessly, feeding public fascination with the scandal. Meanwhile, the Sheikh withdrew from public life, his grief compounded by the unanswered question of the child's fate. Maria's family, devastated by the loss, received compensation from the Sheikh, but it did little to fill the void. Her life, abruptly cut short, became a cautionary tale about desperation, trust, and the dangerous consequences of secrets kept too long. Despite intense investigations and international alerts, the mystery of what truly happened to Layla and the unborn child remained unsolved, leaving behind a haunting story of ambition, obsession, and irreversible tragedy. Months passed, and the mystery surrounding Layla and the missing child deepened, leaving a void that no explanation could fill. Interpol alerts had been issued after surveillance footage surfaced in Muscat, showing a woman resembling Layla leaving a hospital carrying an infant. Yet despite international efforts, she was never found. Authorities searched extensively, tracking flights, hotel records, and financial transactions, but every lead vanished into thin air. The baby, if alive, remained hidden, and the world was left with more questions than answers. Sheikh Khalid, once a commanding figure in Dubai's elite society, became a shadow of himself. Publicly, he maintained appearances, but privately, he wrestled with grief, guilt, and fear. He wondered whether the child was safe, whether Layla had survived, and whether he could ever reclaim the life he had lost. The mansion, which had once symbolized wealth, luxury, and stability, now felt like a tomb of secrets. Staff members spoke in hushed tones, each afraid of the lingering shadows left behind by the tragedy. Maria's family, though compensated financially, struggled with unimaginable loss. Her absence left a hole in their hearts and shattered the dreams she had carried for them. The story of the maid who had come to Dubai full of hope became a somber legend, a warning about the dangers of desperation and secrecy. To this day, the fate of Layla and the child remains unknown. Some believe she succeeded in taking the baby and starting a new life abroad. Others fear that both mother and child met a tragic end in the desert, victims of a plan that spiraled beyond control. The tale serves as a haunting reminder that even in a world of wealth and power, human ambition, obsession, and secrecy can lead to irreversible consequences, leaving mysteries that may never be solved.